Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Weekly Coder. I'm Chris, and this week we are going to continue on with our Frogger game. We're gonna actually go ahead and add a... We're gonna keep track of lives. So the way they do this in the original Frogger... Let's have a look. Because that's what we're trying to do, right? We're trying to emulate as much of the original Frogger as possible. Wow, that's super loud. Hold on. Alright. So, here we go. We start off with 4 lives. So, if we get hit once, our lives go to 3. Lives go to 2. Lives are down to 1. Lives are down to 0. And I guess we get to have that 0 life. Okay, and then it starts over. Alright. So, before we do any UI stuff, let's think about how we're going to actually keep track of this in the code. So, I'm going to go into the player script. And I'm going to create a variable. It's going to be very, very simple. And I'm going to make this public just so that we can see it in the inspector, so that we can keep track of kind of what our lives are. Alright, so we're going to say if, or actually, we're creating a variable. So we're going to call this, it's going to be an integer, and we're going to call it health. And it's going to be set to 4. Because that's how many dots we're going to have representing our lives. Okay. So now, we do to check collision. And... right here, I knew this was going to come in handy. We have this method, or this variable that keeps track of whether or not we're safe, and if we're not safe, then basically we're not game over yet, but we're losing a life. So what we'll do is we'll say health minus equals 1. So our health should go down by 1. Alright, let's test that out and see if that actually works. Okay, so we're going to try and get hit by a car. Wait. You know what? I should probably select the player. So that we can see what's going on. And his health is already down to 2, so obviously this thing is working. And now we're at 0. And negative 1. And it's just going to keep going down every time we get hit. Or if we land in the water. So that's working good. So we already know, that we're keeping track of lives, which is great. So, do we want to... What happens on a game over? Like, do we lose all of our points, or what? So it looks like we have 9 there. Alright, now we have 0. So, other than the points resetting and our lives resetting, maybe we could... Because I don't want to get into the whole... doing a game over and then restarting, because then we get into scene management, and I think that should be for another episode for sure. So this one, let's just try and keep it to only keeping track of the lives. And what I'm going to add into this here in a second is I'm going to add the UI stuff so that we all have the dots that represent our lives. And it looks like these may be like 10 or 16 by 16s. No, these are like 4 by 4 squares? 2 by 2, because this is 1 pixel. Yeah, like 2 by 2 pixel squares, maybe. Okay. So let's get rid of this. And let's do, go back to the player. So if health is equal to 0, all right, so we start out, we get hit, health goes down to 3. How about we just do this? We say if health is less than 0, which would be -1, just so that we get that 0th life. And in which case we could have just said is equal to -1, but less than 0 will do. If health is less than 0, then we call game over, which we don't have yet. So we'll go ahead and create that down here. Game over. And I forgot all the stuff that needs to come with that. Well, just really the void. So, and then in the game over, so not just in game over do we want to reset his position, but once his health declines, we're going to reset his position. So his health goes down by 1, he gets put back to his starting position, and then we check to see if health is less than 0. Or, you know what we can do? We can do this up here, and then we can check to see if it is 0. Then we do game over. All right, so now once we get game over, we want to restore our health back to 4. Because we're starting over with new health. Now, if we had score that we were keeping track of already, then we would also reset our score to 0. But for right now, we're just going to reset health back to 4, which right now really does nothing because there really is no game over. But in this game over method we're starting to build, that we're going to start adding more stuff to, the first thing we're doing is we're resetting health to 4. So let's check and see if this is working according to our plan. Player. Okay. So I'm going to just get rid of this scene view here. Actually, I'm going to throw the game view in this same panel. There. That's better. Alright. So we've got our health over here. Right now it's 4. So we're going to go and we're going to die. Now we have 3 lives. We're going to die. We have 2 lives. 1 life. 0 lives. And 3 lives. That's interesting. 2, 1, 0, 3. Oh, that's weird. Why is it doing that? Oh, because it subtracts health after game over is called? Yeah, that's exactly right. It subtracts health after game over is called. So we have to say if health equals 0, otherwise we do this. And we still want to reset his position. And we should probably just put that here. There. Now we should be good. Now I have to select the player again. And I can never find him. There he is. Alright. So let's see how far we get. Oh. Well, so now I'm going straight from 0 to 4. That doesn't make any sense. If health equals 0, then game over. Otherwise, health minus equals 1. Oh, shit. This has to happen there and there. So how about we make another method, just to be cool. We'll call this one player died. And we'll throw all of this stuff in there. And then we'll call player died. And then we're going to make this even more interesting. We're going to create another method called reset position. And that is going to do this thing, because I don't like rewriting code if it does exactly the same thing. So it's going to have a method. So we're just going to call reset position here and reset position here, because both times the position needs to be reset. There. So either he's going to die or he's going to die and get a game over, basically. It's just that that last time he's not going to lose a life. Oh, wait. So now we've got 3, 2, 1, 0, 4. 3, 2, 0, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Okay, I could do this all day. All right. Now we're going to do something crazy. We're going to... We're gonna... Alright. We're gonna add a canvas. And the canvas is gonna let us do cool stuff. Like... add UI buttons and stuff. And lives that we're going to track. So I'm going to drag out game view, because game view is where we're going to be able to see what we see on the canvas, right? Because the canvas takes literally the size of what the camera sees, not what the game scene actually sees. So to demonstrate that, I'm going to actually add a UI element, and we're going to add... How about if we add an image? Hey, you know what? That's actually perfect for what we want, except for the image is huge. So first, I'm going to put it where I think we should put it. And this is what I'm talking about. See, like, we're inside this box here, not necessarily inside our game scene for our screen here. But this is what the camera sees, which is what this canvas is, which, you know, brings me to another another thing here. In the canvas, before we do anything else, we can set, because right now, if we scale this, this square is not going to stay where we have it, which sucks. So what we want to do is we want to change the not the render mode. We want to change the scale mode from constant pixel size to scale with screen size. And then we have to set a reference resolution. So depending on what kind of resolution we want to work with, probably like 1080p. So you would do something like 1920 by 1080. And you see how much smaller that square got? That's because we're working with a different kind of resolution right now. We want to set our reference pixels per unit probably to 16 as well. So that way, now if we scale, you know, it's going to literally scale along with our canvas. So as our screen size changes, our resolution does not. Okay, so it scales along nicely with all the other stuff. So now we're a little closer to where we want to be with the size of our little cube here, or square. Sorry. So the width is 100 by 100, which is too big. And you can see that we set our our scale size to 16 by 16. So he's about the same size as a car, same size as the frog, because they're all 16 pixels. So what we want to try to do is get that down to like 2 pixels. So if we do 32 by 32, that should be good. Yeah, I'm actually kind of happy with that. So we'll put one right there. Let's negative 844. Let's make this negative 680. All right. We'll need 4 of them. So I'm just going to duplicate. So we'll call this life 1. And then we'll duplicate and duplicate. Oh wait, yeah. You know what? Let's move it first. Let's move the duplicated object. And so we were at negative 844. Let's do negative 800. And then we'll just move it 44 every time. So we'll duplicate that one. And this one's going to go to negative 756. 756. And then we'll need one more. Duplicate. And negative 10? 710? Is that right? Negative 710 looks good. Alright, so there's our 4 lives, although they are probably still a little big. Just 24 maybe? Yeah, that looks a lot better. So let's go with 24 by 24. You know, one thing I was going to ask you guys is, previously I used to do these tutorials. I used to prepare somewhat for them. I actually took some time and I created the content, or I created the project fully, all the way from the beginning until the end, and then I went through and did the tutorials, kind of already knowing where I was headed and what I was going to do. So I don't know if you guys like this format better, where I'm kind of just almost learning it in a way as I'm explaining it to you. I think, honestly, it's better this way because you kind of get to see what my process is to get to where I'm going, or to, you know, because I think a lot of what happens to people is they get overwhelmed with trying to figure out, you know, how am I supposed to know that I'm supposed to use a certain code here or that certain thing here? So, and you really don't learn that if you watch someone who knows exactly what they're doing and why they're doing it. I think that you learn better if you watch someone kind of stumble along in certain aspects and kind of, I mean, I know how to program and I know the fundamentals and the basics and, algorithms and all that stuff, logic, it's all there. It's just that, still, as a programmer, you're still trying to find the best solution. And, it's not always the right one. Well, you know what? Let me not get back into that discussion. There's no right solution here. There's only your solution, which is the best for you. So I'm going to stop right there. I don't. We always talk about this, but I don't want to talk about it this time. So let me just go on with naming these things here. So this will be life 2, life 3, life 4. I'm going to call this something, we'll call this canvas HUD. And I'm going to add, yeah, we're going to make this really easy. We're going to create a new script. I'm going to call this, not bra, I don't know why that's there. We're going to call this HUD. HUD. HUD? Just HUD. All right. So it's probably put that in the assets folder. We're going to copy it to the scripts folder. And then we're going to go to the scripts folder and open that guy up. Now, for right now, all we're going to do is nothing because our Visual Studio is being stupid. Let's open that again. All right, so I'm going to create some public variables, and before I do that, I actually have to include something, namespace, Unity Engine dot UI, because we're using some UI stuff, and we're going to use UI image, and that is going to be called life 1. And you know what? Life 2, life 3, and life 4. There we go. Got all 4 images. Okay, so now I think we'll create a method to make this easy. We'll create a public method. Public. Update. Well, this will also be void. Update. Player lives HUD. Okay, so, and we're going to pass in a variable, and it's going to be an integer, and it's going to be, let's call it player health. And here we're just going to have a switch, and it's going to be player health, and we're going to say case for break case 3 break case 2 break case 1 break case 0 break. Okay, so if we have 4, then life 1 dot enabled equals true, life 2 dot enabled equals true, life3 dot enabled equals true. Life4 dot enabled equals true. Now, if we have 3, life1 dot enabled equals true. Life2 dot enabled equals true. Life3 dot enabled equals true also. Life4 dot enabled equals false. Now if we have 2 lives, life 1 and 2 are going to be enabled, and the others are going to be disabled. So life 3 is going to be false. Life 4 is going to be false. Hopefully that takes care of the renderer and it like disables the entire thing. I think it'll disable the entire thing. Alright, so now for if we have 1 life, of course only life 1 is going to be enabled and the rest, life 2 is going to be false, life 3 is going to be false, and life 4 is going to be false. And for 0, they're all going to be just false. Life 2, false. Life 3, false. And life 4, false. All right. That should be that. Now we can update the player HUD with the lives, except for we actually need to set those properties up with the game objects here that we created. So let's go back to Unity, and we're going to select our HUD. And right here we've got life 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we're just going to drag life 1 to life 1. Oops. Life 1 to life 1. Life 2 to life 2. 3 to 3. And you guessed it, 4 to 4. Okay. So now we've got this canvas HUD, right? That's what it's called. It's called canvas HUD. So we can do 2 things. We can either add a game object, or we can either add a canvas property to the player and make a reference to the game or to the canvas HUD, or we can just use find game object and then give it the name canvas HUD. So in this case, I think we're going to just use find game object. So we're going to go into player, and we are going to create a private variable HUD, and then in the start method we are going to get a reference to that. So we're going to say HUD equals game object dot find, and it's called canvas HUD, and these are case sensitive, dot get component, and we're going to get the HUD component, the script that we created, and that will be stored in our HUD variable. So now we can just go down here, and every time we want to update the player's health, we can just do it here. So we say HUD.update player lives, and we're going to pass in the health, and we're going to do the same thing here. HUD. Ooh. Oops. We're getting repetitive code again. So we're going to just cut this, and we're going to put it down here when we reset the position. Because every time we reset the position, we should reset the lives in the HUD. So we'll save that, and let's see what we broke. So they're all enabled. Let's die. Bam. One's gone. Two are gone. And they're all gone. And they're all back. So, you know, this is a bad example for saying that I'm not prepared because honestly, things never work the first time around like this when I do them. So, well, I wouldn't say never, but very rarely, or not extremely rarely, but rarely do they ever happen this way. I'm kind of happy that it turned out that, you know, things were just going to work, which is cool. So I'm going to just call this episode a success and, you know, not try to jinx it. And I'm going to just say, hey, you know what? This is the end of the episode. The next time, I think what we're going to do is we're going to try to keep track of our game time. And that'll be another thing that kills the frog. So all these things killing the frog is eventually going to lead up to a real game over where we actually reset the scene, reset the score that we're still going to have to work on actually keeping. Which, you know, I put a little, like, what would you call it? The thing that a TV guide has. Like a program, a schedule of what the next upcoming episodes are going to be. And it's listed on Patreon. I also listed a couple of other episodes that I might be thinking about doing. But I don't have anything in there where I actually keep the score. So, man, I thought I was going to only have 13 episodes, but I guess I'm going to have a 14th episode at the very least. So I think maybe next, maybe next episode we'll do score. So, anyways, that brings me to the closing stuff. So, if you guys like the video, give me a thumbs up. Subscribe. Subscribers are always welcome. Always, always. Don't forget to click the bell for notifications. And don't forget to check out my wife's channel, Donibus Maximus. Don't forget to check out Code Scruffs because we're funny and awesome. You can join me as a member on YouTube. And you can have access to cool, like, source code and things like that. You can also do that if you come to Patreon and be a patron there. You get early access, because what I try to do is I try to record these episodes on Friday or Saturday. I usually end up posting them late Saturday afternoon. But if you go on Patreon, you'll get all the source code for the episode before the episode comes out on YouTube, no matter what. Because I post that stuff before I do the upload. And sometimes it's a couple of hours beforehand, sometimes it's a day before, but you always get it before everybody else does. I'd like to give a shout out to the patrons who have already pledged, who are supporting me on Patreon. Thanks so much, you guys. I really appreciate it. And if you have any questions, please feel free to leave them down in the comments below. You can contact me on Patreon. I've started a Discord channel that I'm going to be using to do live sessions soon, so look out for that. I have a link to the Discord down below with an invite, so you guys can go ahead and click that to kind of join and be a part of the server so that you can get notifications and stuff. So lots of cool stuff coming, so I'm looking to move full steam ahead with my channel. Not looking to give up anytime soon. So I'll see you guys next week.